Good afternoon, everyone. I'm here to present the paper. The first author of the paper is Kenneth Moser, who did his PhD from our lab in 2016. This work is one of his chapter of his dissertation. You can see his eyes here. The second author is me. I'm doing PhD in Mississippi State University at the same lab. You can see my eyes here. The third author is Dr. Swan, who is our advisor, leader of the lab. You can see also his eyes here. So from the pictures, I think you have the idea what actually we are focusing on. We are focusing on estimating the user's eye using some calibration using optical see-through head-mounted display. We all know that augmented reality means superimposed computer-generated graphics or additional information in front of the user view to enhance the user view of the real world. In optical see-through system, in augmented reality, we have video see-through system as well as optical see-through system. In video see-through system, the real is fed into the user's eye with some sort of medium like camera. But in optical see-through system, user have direct access to the world, but we don't have access to the user's eye. Technically, video see-through system is easy because there we have access to the image data. We can make per pixel decision. We can decide, do you need to put this virtual pixel here or not? But in optical see-through system, we don't have direct access to the image data. We can't make decision per pixel decision. So technically, optical see-through system is much more challenging than video see-through system. And in our study, we have used optical see-through system rather than the video see-through system. The goal of optical see-through augmented reality system is to estimate the user's eye location properly. But unfortunately, it is not easy to be done in real time. So in order to achieve those, we have virtual camera system as well as physical view system. But in video see-through system, some sort of camera calibration can be done, and the system knows the location of the camera with high degree of accuracy. But in optical see-through system, the camera is the user's eye, and we don't have access on that, and so calibration alignment procedure is very important. So in optical see-through augmented reality system, in order to do the calibration, we have virtual system, we have physical view system. So in order to render virtual geometry in front of the user view, we have used off-axis pinhole camera model with perspective projection. And the parameters of the pinhole camera model can be expressed mathematically by intrinsic matrix. And we also have eye head-mounted model, and you can see the parameters like head-mounted display coordination system, head-mounted display screen coordination system, and other. And we have a physical view system. This is physically constructed with the user's eye and head-mounted display. And the 3D location and the rotation of the user's eye relative to the head-mounted display coordination system can be estimated through this extrinsic matrix. So when you combine the intrinsic matrix with the extrinsic matrix, we'll have our final 3×4 projection matrix, and user will be able to see the virtual object in front of his view. And from there, we can estimate the user's eye location relative to the head-mounted display coordination system, and also can evaluate our calibration success. Now the question is, how good are the results? Suppose we have a wall point and its corresponding actual screen point. And through our projection matrix, we have a reprojected screen point. The difference between the actual screen point and the reprojected screen point is known as reprojection error. Our target is to minimize the reprojection error as much as possible. In this figure, you can see the result of an improper registration and the proper registration. So calibration, when it is not done properly and the system does not know where the user's eye will look at, the graphics will be rendered something like that. But when calibration will be done properly, though the system does not know where the user's eye are, but by mathematical model, the graphics will be rendered with the correct part of the real world. In the video, you can see that user doing the calibration in optical see-through augmented reality system. Here's a reticle, and user trying to align the center of the reticle with the center of the fiducial marker, which is basically at the 3D point. And after performing the minimum number of calibration, he can see the result of the calibration from here. Is the result. So in our study, we have used most overly used manual calibration method, single point active alignment method, which is described thoroughly by Tussaran and Nabab in their research paper. So the method works like the same manner that I have described earlier. We have an eye head-mounted model, we have a wall point, and through the projection matrix, we have the image point. And we can estimate the user's eye location relative to the head-mounted display. And also, through the estimated eye position, we can evaluate our calibration success. The reason behind using the single point active alignment method is that it allows the user free movement while doing the calibration. User can move forward, backward, move around his space to perform the calibration. And also the 11 parameters of the projection matrix can be estimated directly by direct linear transformation method. No additional hardware is also required in this case. And also this calibration technique is highly acceptable in all existing commercial and industrially available optical see-through head-mounted display. So there are 3 research questions have been investigated in this paper. The first one is impact of alignment point distance during the calibration. Previously, Exalt in his dissertation worked on the different alignment point distribution. This is the picture from his dissertation, and he showed static, sequential, and magic square distribution. He found that magic square distribution is the best among those. And we have used the magic square distribution in our study while changing the distance of each alignment point. We are also interested in finding the impact of alignment point distance during the calibration. We have used user-centric distribution and environment-centric distribution. The question is, which one is more accurate and more precise during the calibration? Second research question is, what is the impact of postural SOI in calibration procedure? This is also another picture from Exalt dissertation. He also played with postural SOI in the calibration procedure. He done an experiment where user is standing with eyes open, eyes closed, and both side strategies. So this is actually the distribution of head position when user tried to keep his head and body still while performing the calibration. But eventually, every human has involuntary SOI, and it is not possible for a user to still their head and body all the time while performing the calibration. So we are interested to find the impact of postural SOI in the calibration procedure. We have used 3 postures: seated, standing, and control. The control means the calibration will be done by the camera, not with the human, and there will be no postural SOI. We have considered this as accuracy and as a control condition. The third research question is impact of number of elements in the calibration procedure. We need minimum 6 element points to solve this projection matrix and get a calibration result. But this calibration result has much more noise. Practically 9 to 12 element points are needed to have a reasonable calibration result. But what will be the impact of additional calibration result? If we increase the element counts like 25, 50, if I do more alignments during the calibration, will it improve the accuracy of the calibration result? So I will describe in the following slide how we get the answer of these 3 research questions. This is the total design of our experimental test condition. We have user-centric distribution, we have environment-centric distribution, 3 posture, seated, standing, and camera. The third, this one is actually a control condition, where a camera is mounted to a head-mounted display and a tripod to perform the calibration. Total, we have 6 experimental test conditions. 4 experimental test conditions were performed by the human, while there is a postural SOI exists. And the 2 conditions are where there is no postural SOI and the calibration was performed by the camera. So in our study, we have used NVI SST50 head-mounted display and ART tracking system to get the position of the head-mounted display and also getting the position of our physical alignment points. We have used Microsoft LiveCam ARGB camera, which is mounted to a head-mounted display, same head-mounted display, for our control condition. So we have used two types of reticles in our study. One is non-US reticle and other is So while performing the calibration with control condition, user needs to move the tripod manually forward and backward and very carefully to perform the calibration. This is the overall data collection of our result for the study. We have collected total 200 calibration set of data, 20 calibration set for each eye. Each calibration set has 50 elements. Total, we have collected 10,000 alignment points. And all 10,000 alignment points was collected by this expert user, who is the first author of this paper. So one of the results of our work would be that we have used a single expert user in our study. Well, we are interested on the research questions related to this. We are not interested on the research questions, what will be the user's ability to perform the calibration. And we believe that a person who is extremely knowledgeable about the calibration procedure, and the first author of the paper, who did his PhD in calibration in general, did 10,000 thousands of SPAAM calibration, he can give us more consistent and stable calibration result than anyone else. And it also took over 40 hours and over several weeks to collect all the 10,000 element points. Recruiting participants for that amount of time is very difficult. So this is actually the overall result of our study. So here you can see the estimated eye location of the left eye, right eye, and the camera. We have left-hand graph. In the left-hand graph, you can see the XY view as if you are standing above the observer and looking at the top of their head. And the right graph is XZ view as if you're standing at the standing behind the observer and looking at the back of their head. So here you can see the circles in both graphs. The circles denote the ground truth eye location of left eye, right eye, and the camera. And the small color circle denote the median of the eye location. Different posture was defined by different colors and shapes. The first row in both graphs shows the result after 50 elements, and the second row shows the result after 25th elements. It is visually understandable that element points are more clustered and stable in user-centric distribution rather than the environment-centric distribution, and there is a little difference in control condition. And there is no significant difference of the result after 25th element and all 50 elements. This is the view of the same data. Here you can see the impact of element counts in the calibration procedure. So it is very obvious here that the calibration, there is no significant gain was achieved when the element count increased. So the first vertical line shows the 25th element, second vertical line shows the 50th element. And you can see that result converges very fastly here. So there is no significant gain achieved when we increase the alignment counts in the calibration. So this is our unique findings. We have found that user-centric calibration is much more accurate and precise compared to environment-centric calibration. Camera control calibration has same sort of result as user-centric calibration result. And interestingly, no effect of postural sway in the calibration. And we found the calibration result of 25 alignment points is as good as after 50 alignment points. So this is the recommendations for our findings for all. So future work, we'd like to replicate our study with other head-mounted display model. That will be interesting. And we are also interested with numerically simulate calibrations using known error distributions, and also perform ultimate calibration test to perceive the actual virtual object location. And we'll be very interested to obtain the ground truth eye location using some eye tracking technologies, and automatic calibration methods are coming. We have Magic Leap, and it has integrated eye tracking system with that. So finally, I'd like to thank NSF, NASA, and JSPS for their support in our work. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the interesting talk.
Oh, okay.
Are there any questions in the audience? I know many of you are working on calibration. Over there.
This is Daniel from Dakri. Thanks a lot for the talk. Do you know how your approach would have to be changed, or if it has to be changed, for a waveguide-based system? Understanding yours is a combiner-based system, an OLED display. Would that make a difference if you tried it like on the Magic Leap?
So we have, are you talking about like if we use other display, what will be the result like?
Yes, my understanding is you display with the Envisor ST50, which is a combiner-based display.
Okay.
If would you be using a waveguide-based system like the Magic Leap or the HoloLens? Do you know if your method would work just as well?
So previously, some paper we found that we have used the single point active alignment method, and the trend of single point active alignment method is similar to most of the optical see-through head-mounted display. So there is a paper by Gruvert. You hear they mention something like that. The trend of SPAAM calibration procedure is the same through all optical see-through head-mounted displays.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
We have time for one last short question, and I don't see any in the audience, so thank you very much.
Thank you.